Hey, it's Jerry Norton here, and one of the biggest challenges with wholesaling real estate is consistency. It's doing deals every single month. Talk to any wholesaler you know, and they'll tell you about the roller coaster, the up and down, the months where we do deals, the months where we don't do deals. And so one of the biggest goals that we have when we start wholesaling is, how do I do this consistently so that I have deals every single month? That way the money keeps flowing in.
This video is brought to you by 10K Club, a program that pays you $10,000 for finding ugly houses. Learn more at my10kcheck.com.
Now, if you're new to wholesale real estate, what I want to do is I want to break down for you what it's going to take to consistently do deals every month. Now, again, if you're new here, think about what wholesaling is. Wholesaling is where we're going to go out into the marketplace and we're going to find distressed properties where there's a motivated seller who's willing to sell that property at a discount. Now that's key here. We have to be able to acquire these properties at a discount so that way we can turn around and resell the property either through an assignment. We could do a double closing, we could do a novation, we could do what I call a takedown where we actually buy the property, fund it, and then resell it. When I talk about wholesaling here in the broader sense, what I'm really referring to here is not adding value to the property in the form of improvements, that's called fix and flip, but rather the value comes from acquiring the deal at a discount, buying it deep with equity, and the value then is bringing that to the marketplace, and usually another investor, and then buying that property from us in one way or another so that we then make a spread or a profit on the deal. That's wholesaling, in a broad sense, in a nutshell. So there's multiple ways that we can structure those wholesale deals, but for this purpose here, we need to be able to find these distressed properties, get them under contract, and then resell them in some form or another to make money. Now, there are really, when you think about all of the steps to wholesaling properties, there are two very important, what I call revenue generating activities. These are the most important things that you can do. If you do these two things, then you will consistently do deals every single month. And I'm only going to talk about these two things. There's actually, a lot more that goes into wholesaling houses, but these are the two things that if you do well, you will not go hungry. You will be doing deals consistently every month. So what's the first one? The first one is what we refer to as lead gen in business. I just refer to it as finding deals. It's a lot simpler to think about, but it's generating leads. Now, when we think about generating leads, what we mean here is how do we go out into the marketplace and how do we find these distressed properties where there is a motivated seller? And when we talk about a distressed property or a motivated seller, distress could be in two forms. It could be the seller's in distress financially or the property's in distress, and usually it's both. And then motivated means there's urgency to do one of two things. I call it either stop the bleeding or get the cash or equity out of the property, get the money. I want the money from the property. And those two things are driving factors. Usually it's both. It's stop the bleeding. When I say stop the bleeding, what I'm referring to there is owning that property is causing a hardship. You're taking care of it. Maybe there's a mortgage payment on it. There's taxes, there's insurance, there's upkeep, there's cost. Maybe there's a tenant not paying rent. Whatever the bleeding is, that's the pain that property's causing them, you want to stop that. Like that's a seller's motivation. That's one really motivating factor. The other one would be, hey, I've got cash tied up in this property and I need the cash really badly for the next thing I need to do in my life. And again, usually it's both of those, stop the bleeding and realize the equity out of the property. That creates a high motivation to sell that property. And a seller in that kind of situation is willing to then sell that at a discount. They're willing to let that property go at a discount for the speed and convenience of the cash offer that we provide. Okay, so how do I find that person? And by the way, that person in any given time in the marketplace, in any market, makes up about 5 to 10% of all sellers. So most sellers aren't in that distress. They don't need to sell quickly at a discount. They can take the time to get the highest price the market will pay. That's not who we're looking for. We're looking for that motivated seller. So lead gen is an activity that we're going to do daily. If this isn't happening daily, you will not be doing deals monthly. Lead gen daily leads to deal flow monthly, okay? So what does lead gen or finding look like? Well, we now have to do some form of marketing to get in front of these types of sellers. So when we think about lead gen, I break it down into 3 different categories. We have free, we have cheap, and we have expensive forms of lead gen or marketing. Okay, so what would free be? Free would be referral based leads. Okay, so we're going to call this referral, and the best referral is actually with agents. Real estate agents is one of the best forms of free referral based lead gen. Okay, now why? Because agents are also like us, they're actively out in the market and they're looking for listings. So they're going to go on appointments with sellers, and they're going to sit down with that seller, and they're going to either say, you know what, I'll take this on as a listing, we'll try to sell it, or, you know, I don't think I'm a good fit. But they're also interacting with the type of seller we're looking for. So if we can make relationships with agents, and those agents can bring us the distressed seller, motivated seller leads, and we compensate them, now we can create a really great relationship. And how well does this work? I've made millions of dollars from agents, working with agents. I have a student, Hugh Boy, in Atlanta. He does $1 million a year, and it's all referral based from agents. Agents bring him distressed sellers. He steps in, he contracts with the seller, pays those agents a referral or a commission for bringing that lead, and he does it again and again and again. So this can be a massive source of lead gen, and it's free. Now in a minute, I'm going to tell you a method I developed called the 555 method, which is going to get you 3 to 5 deals a month consistently just through this one avenue, just through this one lead gen technique with agents. Really, really powerful. I'll talk about that in a minute. There are other free methods like driving for dollars is one method where you get in your car, you drive around your neighborhood, and you look for visibly distressed properties that are neglected, and then you reach out to that owner, see if they want to sell. Now that's free, other than gas money and your time driving around. So that's another free method. There's other forms of referral based where you're networking with other investors in your marketplace. You're going to the investor meetup groups, you're talking to those people. You know, you're also working with other wholesalers. Maybe you have a buyer and you know another wholesaler who's got a deal, and you can work that way. We call that JV deals, right? So a lot of people do really well with JVing, partnering up with other people that either they have the buyer or they have the deal, and you have the other one. You have either the deal or the buyer, and you can create those forms of relationships. My good friend and pro wholesaler, Jamil Damji, he excels with that model, with the JV model. He does it really, really well, and has lots of deal flow because of his relationships with other investors, buyers, and other wholesalers. So that's another form of a free lead gen method. And there are others, but those are kind of some of the big ones. Now, let's go to cheap. Cheap is typically going to be texting and cold calling. Now, let me back up a second. The way that you get in front of distressed sellers, there's a way that you can actually acquire data or list of potentially distressed sellers that we know there's some form of distress going on by nature of the data we're acquiring. So let me explain this. We can actually acquire lists of people that are in probate, people that are in pre-foreclosure. We can target vacant properties. We can target absentee owners where people don't live in the home. We can stack these filters, and we could say, okay, well, I'm going to acquire a list of absentee owners that don't live in the home, that are out of state, that have owned it for more than 10 years. That's vacant and has high equity. See what I mean? Like, we can create these customized lists of sellers that might be willing to sell at a discount. Now, we don't know until we reach out to them and find out. So we can acquire these lists. Then we'll have to get their phone numbers. That's called skip tracing. Very inexpensive to get phone numbers. And then we have to cold call or call out to those sellers and say, hey, my name's Jerry. We're looking to buy a property in your neighborhood. Wondering if you want to sell your home on 123 Main Street. Are you interested in a cash offer, right? So we're going to reach out to these sellers. And that form of getting a list, skip tracing it, cold calling it is fairly inexpensive. Even if you hire out the cold calling to an agency, which is what I do. I hire an agency. I'll give you a link below for a referral. They're like $6 an hour. It's an overseas caller. And, you know, we hire them and we give them thousands of lists to call. They call those lists. They generate a warm lead, we call it. And now me and my team are talking to sellers that have raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested in selling. So, but it's fairly cheap. It's fairly inexpensive. You might pay anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a month in this type of cheap marketing channels that generate one deal that maybe makes $10,000. So think about that. If you spend $1,500 and you get 50 warm leads from that cold calling and texting strategy, and you turn one of those, you convert one of those into a deal that makes $10,000, well, that's pretty cool. That's a fairly inexpensive way to, generate those leads. So that's cheap. By the way, the best way to get these leads and do this cheap method is with a software called PropWire, because PropWire lets you search and download the data for free. No subscription. You don't have to pay monthly to get in front of that data. So you can go in there, you can search in any market you want. You can get customized list of all these different types of seller leads, totally free. You can search and download as much as you want for free. And then you can skip trace it. Now that's very inexpensive. Like I said, PropWire actually has packages where you can get bulk skip tracing for pennies. And now you've got that list, you've got those phone numbers, and then you can hire, like I said, a cold calling agency called Run It Remote is who I use. Okay, now let's talk about expensive real quickly. Expensive is typically going to be like direct mail. So we're going to do mail campaigns to lists, the same list that we acquire like on PropWire. We can mail to that list. That's going to cost you a lot more, maybe 50 cents a postcard, maybe $1 a letter. But if you're doing that in bulk, you can see where that's going to be a little bit more expense. Other forms of more expensive marketing is going to be PPC, pay per click. This is basically running Google ads. And again, you can hire an agency, they run the ads, but this is going to cost you $5,000, $6,000 a month, typically on average, to get one good deal. So you can see it's much more expensive marketing, but these are going to be inbound leads, sellers calling in because they searched on Google, found the website, filled out a form, and now you get that lead. These are highly motivated sellers. Usually they're faster conversions. Usually they're higher assignment fees and wholesale profits. So they're awesome. Like, you want to get to this type of marketing because it is expensive, but it's higher quality. And it's always better to pay more to get higher quality because you're going to convert more and you're going to turn that money more and you're going to make more, right? So the end game is always to move into the more expensive marketing usually. Other form of expensive marketing is what we call PPL, pay per lead. And these are agencies that do the marketing, they generate the lead, and then all you do is buy the lead. So you're paying per lead that they generate. There's a couple different providers that I use. I'll put some links below if you'd like. But those are fantastic as well because they're ready to go sellers and you can just instantly be having conversations. Now, here's the thing. When you're new to wholesale real estate, you have to start with free and cheap for two reasons. One, you don't have a marketing budget usually. Even if you did, I would recommend not spending the money because you don't have your processes figured out yet. You're not really good at it yet. So don't waste the money. Start with the free and the cheap. Get some deals going. Get the marbles out of your mouth. Get comfortable. Do some transactions. Reinvest some of that money and move into either more cheap or more expensive types of marketing. And that's how we actually start from zero and build a wholesale business. That's the way we do it. So it's very developmental this way. It's the normal way to do it. Okay, so lead gen. Now again, I want to go back to a statement I said earlier. If you're not generating leads every single day, lots of them, not one, not two, but 10, 20, 50, if you're not generating those leads daily, then you're not going to be doing deals monthly. So lead gen is like turning a faucet on that you never turn off. You've got to generate leads. Whenever I talk to a wholesaler that's struggling, I can almost every single time pinpoint it back to they're not generating enough distressed seller leads. You've got to do that every single day. I don't care about anything else you do. If you're not generating leads, you're not doing the business. Okay, so the second revenue generating activity that's most critical is right here, what we call, I'm just going to call this, I've called this lots of things over the years. I'm just going to call this quality conversations. Quality conversations. And what does that mean? I mean, I'd like to say the next best thing you do is to make offers, sign contracts, but that's really not in our control. We have no control over whether or not one of these leads says yes to an offer. We don't know. We can make the offer and see what they do. What we have control over, though, is giving sellers the opportunity to say yes to an offer. That's all we have control over. And that comes down to one key thing: quality conversations. We have to have these conversations with these leads, or we'll never convert those leads into deals. Makes sense, right? So what goes into a quality conversation? Well, there's one key thing that I call BRT. Stands for build a relationship of trust. When you get on the phone, whatever form of marketing, free, cheap, or expensive, when you get on the phone or when you're on appointment and you're sitting there or on the phone talking to that seller, you've got to build a relationship of trust. If there's no relationship of trust, there's no deal. It is the fundamental key to doing deals in real estate. These are sellers in distress. They need to feel confidence in you that you're going to solve their problem, and you actually need to care about solving their problem. And it comes through. They feel it. They sense it. It's an energy. It's a way of being. You have to be able to connect with these sellers. You have to be able to let them cry on your shoulder about their problems. You have to be able to say, here is a way that I might be able to help you. And you have to provide the right solutions. Guys, this is all about a people business. And these are sellers going through hardship. So if you can't connect with them, if this is just about making money, you won't be good at this. You've got to build a relationship of trust. This is an ongoing process. It's from hello to goodbye and everything in between. It's the way you interact with sellers. Okay, so you have to be good at that. I've got entire videos that talk about this, so you can check those out. The second thing that we have to do is what we call discovery. We have to go through a discovery process. And what is it we're trying to discover? We're trying to identify, is this the type of seller that I can help? Is this a seller in distress? Is this a seller with urgency? Is this a seller with motivation? Is this a seller where a cash offer that provides speed and convenience is the right solution? If it's not, I need to identify why and what is the solution and provide them the correct solution or refer them to the correct solution. That's my job. I've got to provide the seller the right solution. And I have to identify if a cash offer that I can contract and then wholesale is the right solution. So what does that discovery look like? We call this, I'm running out of space here, I'm going to put it up here. We call this the pillars of motivation. The pillars of motivation, and there are 4 of them. Now, what are the 4 things we have to discover during this quality conversation? Well, I need to find out, is there some sort of distress or hardship going on? Meaning pre-foreclosure, probate, it's an inherited property, they're a tired landlord and they're burned out. Like, what is going on that's causing distress? Remember I talked about how the property needs to be distressed and the seller needs to be distressed, or one or the other, or both. Something needs to be going on. There needs to be a hardship that's happening in their life to create a motivation. So there's a distress going on. There needs to be urgency. They need to be urgent about getting rid of this property. Urgency creates a discount, right? If there's no urgency, there's no discount. So is there urgency? How soon are you looking to solve this problem and sell this property? Okay, if they say in 6 years, no urgency, no discount. Make sense? So there needs to be distress, there needs to be urgency. There needs to be the condition of the property needs to be in poor condition. So if it's a totally updated, renovated, brand new home, then that usually doesn't create any type of discount, because that type of seller can get full price on the open market. Why would they sell it to you at a discount? A poor condition property, or original condition, meaning it needs updated to get full market value, that type of seller that has distress and urgency doesn't have the financial means to improve the property. That creates a discount. Okay, so condition is the third one, and the fourth one is willing to sell at a discount. That means they have to have equity in the property and they have to be willing and ready to sell and take a price at a discount. Those 4 things, right? Distress, urgency, poor condition, and a discounted price. Those are the pillars of motivation. Those are the things we're looking to uncover or discover on those quality conversations. So if I can have enough quality conversations from the leads I generate every single day, those quality conversations are going to convert into deals. Now we have to know what price to offer, and we have to know how to look at a deal and determine a good offer price and analyze it. We have to know how to fill out a contract. We have to know how to do these other things. But those other things are secondary. They're a byproduct of lead gen and quality conversations, meaning I really don't care about the rest of that. I'll show you how to do that. I've got videos on how to fill out a contract, how to make an offer. That's not your problem. That's not any wholesaler's problem. That part's easy to figure out. Even finding a buyer is easy to figure out once you have a good deal. What makes or breaks a wholesaler in this business is, are they generating enough leads and are they having enough quality conversations? That's it. You do those two things consistently every single day, I promise you, you'll be doing deals and you'll be building $1 million a year business doing this. That's how powerful this is. That's how important this is. Nothing else matters as much as these two things: generating leads and quality conversations. So here's your gauge. If you look back and you say, okay, I'm doing this wholesale thing, part-time, full-time, whatever. If you're doing it and I say to you, okay, how many quality conversations did you have today? And when I say quality, where I mean you're talking to somebody and you're asking them, do you want to sell? Okay, great. You're building trust with them and you're doing discovery with them and you're leading to, hey, how about I give an offer to you for all cash and see if this is something that will help you and serve you in some way. If you're not getting to that every single day, you're dead in the water. You are dead in the water. How often are you doing those conversations every day? And so what I developed here is, for those of you that are getting started, is under the free lead gen, using agents as the model. It's a great place to start. It's not the only place, it's not the best place necessarily, but it's where I think every new wholesaler should start to have the biggest impact. Now you can also do cheap. I'm fine with that. You can go on a PropWire, generate those lists. Doesn't cost you very much. Start having those conversations. Like, that's another great way. But under the free with agents, I developed what I call the 5-5-5 method. Now, what this means is, it means you're going to do 5 outreach calls a day. Any agent in your market, I don't care. They don't have to have a lead. They don't have to be talking to distressed sellers, nothing. Just, you're calling up the agent and you're saying, hey, I'm an investor. I'm in the market. If you sit down with a seller and they have a distressed property, let me know and we'll see if I can give them a cash offer. I'll compensate you for it. Just, it's cold calling agents, cold outreach, we call it. I call that the shotgun approach or machine gun approach, right? Like, you're spraying the market, trying to talk to every agent in your market. 5 of those a day. You're also going to do 5 listed properties. I call this the sniper approach, because you're going to actually find a distressed property actively for sale. You're going to call that listing agent representing that seller, and you're going to say, hey, I see you got a beat up property here. I'm an investor. I'm all cash. Would your seller entertain a cash offer? Here's my offer. Like, you're going to work an offer on a listed distressed property through the agent. So it's still with the agent calling listed properties. That's the sniper approach, because you're trying to go directly to one deal that's for sale and see if you can get it. And then the second 5, or the third 5, is follow-up. You're going to call back agents that you've previously spoken to, either sniper or machine gun approach, and you're going to say, hey, remember me? I talked to you 2 weeks ago, just checking in. You got anything coming up? Can I help you with anything? Do you have any offers I can make? Are you talking to any sellers? Remember to call me. I'm a cash buyer. Save my number, right? Like, it's that conversation. So it's 5-5-5. 5 shotgun, cold outreach, 5 listed, sniper, and 5 follow-ups. That's 15 a day. Now, that's every day, guys. 15. Now, that takes you about 2.5 to 3 hours a day, so it doesn't even take you all day. If you did it all day, you could do even more than that. But if you're doing that 5-5-5 method with agents, and you're actually consistent about it, you do it every single day without fail, you will be doing 3 to 5 deals a month in time. It's going to take a minute to build up to it, obviously. But in time, you will be doing deals every single month with that one marketing channel, that one method, we call it direct to agent, that one referral-based model that's free, doesn't cost you anything, by the way, other than your time. That one model is going to get you rolling. It's going to get you going. Now, you could expand that, like my student Hugh Boy, and do $1 million a year. I mean, he's got an operation going with agents. He's mastered the process. You can do it, or you can start to transition into these other marketing channels and build your business that way as well. But make no mistake, if you're not generating leads, you're not having quality conversations, you're not building the business. Now, here at the end of this video, I've got, I think close to 3,000 videos here on my YouTube channel. It can be overwhelming when you come here and you start watching my videos. They're all based on random topics. So if there's something you're looking for, you can specifically go into my channel and search, and I have a video for it. There's nothing you have a question about that I don't have a video about or multiple videos about. So what I want to tell you is if you're new to wholesaling, I put together a playlist of 5 videos. It's about a little over 3 hours total in those 5 videos. It's a masterclass on getting your first deal, on getting your real estate business started. I go through a little bit about what I talked today, finding deals, analyzing deals, an offering process to get those deals, how to find the buyers in your market that want those deals. And then the 5th video is all about how to scale and grow a $1 million a year business. Go through that entire series and you will have a solid foundation on what you need to do to get your first deal and then build the business. Okay, so I'm gonna put that link right here. Watch that now and I'll see you on the next video.